I know this series is one that people hold very near and dear. I hate when authors do. Hello everyone. My name is Lady Ravyne and welcome to my lair. Today is Martin Luther King Day, which just so happens to be the same day as the presidential inauguration. And it really does have me feeling really down today. I thought, what better way to try to get my spirits up other than one of the ways that I cope, which is reading. So today I have a book haul, and I've honestly been putting this book haul off for a while. I've been truly just very depressed lately. I'm gonna be honest right now. I've been super depressed and it's been hard for me. I bought all these books during the end of the year sales that were going on with Barnes & Noble and with Book Outlet. Books were anywhere from $3 to $5. So that's how I was able to get like a big bulk of these books. But with everything going on, I just need some way to escape, and reading is one of my biggest escapisms. Like, it's one of the ways I can truly cope. And with what happened recently with TikTok going down, which was another big one of my coping mechanisms, it made me realize that I rely too much on TikTok and social media, and it brought to light that maybe I need to do a cleanse. So right now I am honing in on hobbies and things and such that can enrich me and make me feel better. So that is really going to be my focus for 2025. My own personal mental health, my well-being, in conjunction with the next hard 4 years that we're gonna have. So just for my safety, my sanity, I have to be able to cope, and this just happens to be one of the ways that I do cope. So I didn't want this to be a super heavy video or anything like that. I want this to be a video, if you're going through something hard as well, that you can sit down with me and just be able to enjoy books and just have a nice little getaway. So that's all I'm gonna say about what's going on as of right now, just because I want this video to be one where you can just relax and just kind of escape for a little bit. I also want to take time in this video. Not only am I going to be doing the books that I'm hauling, I think I have 24 books that I ended up buying from the end of the year sale. So I'm going to go through that. I'm also going to go through the book series or duology that I'm currently reading. And then I'm also going to do a TBR, which is, it's gonna be kind of funny with the TBR because they all have a theme that you guys will see. So you're getting a 3-for-1 deal in this video. The only reason why I'm actually doing this is because I just know myself, I'm not gonna get around to sitting down and do 3 separate videos showing all this. So I'm just gonna jam pack it into one video. Without further ado, I'm gonna get right into the goodies just because I have a lot to go through and I don't want this video to be super long and taxing on you guys. The first book I have is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is the second book in the A Crowns of Nyaxia novel. Or is it Nyaxia or Nixia? Either or. It's the second book. They have more books coming out for the series, but I feel like this is the end of the main story of the people we've been following. This is the second book. I'm currently in the process of still reading the first book. I haven't finished it yet. As of right now, I am enjoying it. I feel like personally with this series, I'm not as hooked as some other people on Booktop or Booktube have been in regards to it. It's very enjoyable, that's for sure. I personally like the Daughter of No Worlds book series a little bit better, which is also by Carissa Broadbent. And I do enjoy that a bit more just because it's a bit more original. But for those who don't know, this series is following a human girl who has been adopted by vampires. She's grown up all around vampires, and her goal in the end is to become a vampire and be turned into a vampire. And her dad, who's obviously a vampire, is the ruler of all the vampires, and they go through trials and tribulations, and through these trials she is supposed to be able to gain one wish if you win, and her wish is to become a vampire. But the thing is, it gets a bit complicated because she does meet someone in the trials who is a vampire, and you know, they become entangled and in love and everything like that. So it's definitely a twist and turns of like enemies to lovers, which we always love. And I love vampires, but this series for me is it's just okay. It's not bad, it's not good, it's not like my top series or anything like that, but I definitely do think it's worth a read if you have been hearing about it or you've been interested in it. The next book, I'm gonna grab it here. And this is a series. I got all 4 of them. Just a second, I'm gonna pull them up here for you. This is the Trials of the Sun Queen series, and this is by Nisha Tully. So I'm gonna definitely put these over here, but I'm gonna show all the covers really quickly. This is the first one. Second is a green, and this one's called Rule of the Aurora King, Fates of the Sun King, and then the 4th one is Tale of the Hurt Queen, which honestly, this is my favorite of the covers. I got this series just because it sounded very interesting to me. This book is about the main character, Laura. She has been under the hands of the Sun King, and the Sun King rules over all the people. He's been ruling with a hard fist, and she's had a really hard time. So when the opportunity to become the Sun King wife, she and 9 other tributes decide to battle to be the Sun King's betrothed. Through this book series, we're gonna go through the trials with Lore, see if she wins. A lot of the tributes don't actually like Lore, but she's doing all this so she can get her revenge against the Sun King. I feel like what's gonna happen, just because this is a kind of usual trope, I think what's gonna happen is that she's gonna be going through these trials, she's gonna do well, and the Sun King is actually going to turn out to not be evil, and she's gonna fall in love with him. I feel like I've read enough books where this does happen, so I'll be interested to see if that's what happens and she becomes the Sun Queen. I have all 4 of the books. I like to read just straight through. I want to know what happens right away. I thought also this would be really good because one trope I kind of like is when the main character has to go through trials and prove themselves. That always is going to be a hook, line, sinker for me, and I would love if it ends up surprising me in the end. Next up is the House of Ash and Shadow series, and this is by Leah Stone. I bought 3 of them. I don't know if there's 3 that are technically out or if I ended up just only buying 3 of them, but I believe these were $3 each, so very, very cheap. And I really love the colors of the covers of the books, just like the different purples. Purple is my favorite color, so I do love each of these covers. I think they're really beautiful and they look very cohesive. A lot of them do kind of look the same because they all have a raven or a crow on the front. The House of the Ash and Shadow, House of War and Bone, and lastly, House of Light and Ether. This is about 17-year-old Fallon. She is cursed. Whoever she touches brings her excruciating pain. So she's convinced that she'll never fall in love and she will have to remain untouched. When Fallon's father falls ill, she ends up breaking into the Gilded City, and there she goes to look for a fae healer to heal her father. In the city, she meets Ariane, who agrees to help heal her father, and in the process of his healing, he accidentally touches Fallon on the skin, and to her surprise, and of course not to ours, she doesn't feel pain from his touch. He learns of her secret and he reveals her secret to a high powerful fae, and due to that, she has swept up into a special academy. In that academy is where she learns about her history and her family history and a bit about her dark magic. And this book series will be going into her history. We'll learn about all that, what her power really is. Of course, it's going to be an enemies to lovers trope, which I absolutely love. The thing that I'm interested in seeing is that if she'll be able to control whether or not it causes pain. I'm, of course, here for the love story. And another trope that I love is academies. I love when a main character has to go to an academy or some sort of special school. That's just something I truly love. So I'm really interested to see how this ends up going. We're starting to get down to the last 2 series that I bought. And this is 2 books. I believe there's going to be more that are coming out. This is The Darkness Within Us, and this is by Trisha Levenseller. The second book is called The Shadow Between Us. I may have that backwards. This may be the first, this may be the second, and vice versa. I'm not gonna lie, I am a sucker for a beautiful cover, and both of these covers, look at this detailing. And it gets even better. Look at the pages, like that detailing on the pages. I absolutely love that. I'm gonna take off the cover for this one just to show that it goes even deeper. Look at that. And then on the inside, it has like the city. So if you're a sucker just for like a beautiful book, I would definitely recommend this because, as you can see, it's gorgeous. What really drew me to this book series is the story, because I thought it was an interesting concept. The main character, Chrysanthemum, ends up marrying an older gentleman in order to gain status, money. She hides her personality behind an airheaded persona that she adopts in order to not be seen as threatening. The grandson of Chrysanthemum's late husband shows up, and he's there to try to take the inheritance from her. And to make matters worse, her sister is going to be queen, and she keeps rubbing it in her face. She plots to upstage her sister at her own wedding. We're also gonna see her try to kill the grandson because that's supposed to be her money she's inheriting. It sounds like a nice twist and turn. And I love that the main character does not seem to be a good woman herself. She's like morally gray, which I love. But the thing about me, I'm always gonna stand the main character, whether they're morally gray or not. I don't care if they're evil. A good example of this is, if you guys are into anime, Yagami Light from Death Note. He is a morally gray character, an anti-hero, some would say. He goes down a quick slope into evilness, and I stand him. This is gonna be a spoiler alert. It's old enough where this shouldn't be a spoiler alert, but spoiler alert, he has a very bad and embarrassing end in the manga, obviously in the anime as well, but I stand him and I stood behind him the whole time. That may be controversial. Some people loved L, who was the detective trying to figure out who was behind all the deaths, but I stood behind the main character who was doing all the killings. So yes, I get attached to main characters, whether they're morally gray or not. The last of the series that I got is The Empire of the Vampire. So we have the first one, which is Empire of the Vampire, and this is Empire of the Damned, and this is by J. Kristoff. For some reason, I could only find it where this is soft cover and this is hardcover, which bothers the ever-living crap out of me. But I've heard nothing but great things about this, especially it's a vampire story told in the perspective of a male main character. It has been 27 years since the last sunrise, and during that time frame, vampires have taken over and they've built a whole empire. Our main character, Gabriel, is a silver saint, which is someone who is a part of a holy brotherhood who protects the city away from the vampires. And did I mention he's the last silver saint? He gets captured by the vampires, and basically we're gonna go through the story of the last silver saint, who is supposed to be the protector of the realm, and his experience with the vampires. I'm interested to hear this from the point of view of someone who's actually against vampires and is more like a quote-unquote vampire hunter, because most of the books I read, they are told more in the point of view from the vampires, or I guess not in the point of view of the vampires, but usually in a woman's point of view to vampires. So this will be in a man's point of view. So we shall see. First up of the standalones that I purchased is How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly, and this is a part of the Infatuated Fae series. This is about a biologist named Callie who is going through the forest to collect some things, some research that she's doing. In the middle of the forest, she falls into a portal that leads her to the Fae Unseelie Court. And there she runs into the Fae Prince, who believes she's there as a human assassin to kill him. I think we're going to get dual point of views from my understanding, like in her point of view, Callie's point of view, and Mendax's point of view. But he is dead set that she's there to kill him. But there's a problem. He thinks that she's the most beautiful person he's ever seen. And he feels a sense of desire that he's never felt before. We love to hear that. He feels like he needs to destroy her before his growing need to have her overthrows all his feelings. He challenges Callie to 3 deadly trials. So we're gonna go through, we're gonna see those trials and how she does. I think you're gonna see a little bit of theme again. Trials. Yes, I love a book with trials. Yes, I love a book with fae, but I love even more a book with trials. So this was right up my alley. I had to grab it, especially since I believe it was only $3. So it had to come home with me. Next up is Burning Glass by Catherine Purdue. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember purchasing this one. This is about our main character, Sonia, who has a unique ability. She's able to know how people both physically and emotionally feel. Some accident happens to where she is forced to serve a king and use her powers to serve him. They are hoping to use her powers to scope out any would-be assassins that may be coming to assassinate the king. But of course, Sonia has no grasp over her power, so she doesn't know what are her feelings and what are other people's feelings. And as she's wrangling with her abilities and trying to understand how to control them, she ends up seeking asylum from the emperor's younger brother, who is quite charming. We're gonna see a head-to-head between the two brothers, between Sonia trying to wrangle in her abilities. And you know what? I do love a little love triangle, so I hope it gets a little spicy. This is Unleashing Chaos by Crystal J. Johnson and Felicity Vaughn. And this is regarding Desideria, and she's the Demon King's only daughter. She is looking to find love, but she can't find love anywhere. So she goes to the human realm to find love. There she moves in, she finds a human roommate who just so happens to be named Jace. Pretty sure throughout this book, have little funny encounters between her and Jace. I think this would be a lighthearted, cute, fun type of book. Next up is Filthy Rich Fae, and that's by Geneva Lee. There's an unspoken rule in New Orleans, and that is to stay free of the Gage crime family. And Kate has to come face to face with that family. And the reason why she has to come face to face, of course, is due to her brother. There she meets Lachlan, who is hot, of course, and he also so happens to be fae. In the process of her trying to get her brother out of this mess, she ends up in a binding contract with Lachlan. She has about 30 days to try to break the bond, and we're gonna see if Kate is able to do it. Next up is The Deer and the Dragon by Piper CJ. This is about Marlowe. She is someone who is gifted with the ability to see angels and demons, but to cope in life, she has convinced herself that she's crazy. In this book, we see she can no longer live her life that way, and she must come to terms with reality. There's a dark entity that she's been talking to her whole life, and what she finds out is that he's actually the Prince of Hell, a prince who has miraculously gone missing. She's going to have to do, I guess, a little snooping, see if she can try to find the Prince of Hell. And of course, I'm expecting some love and some spice. We'll see how it goes. This one is a little bit of a change, but this is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I'm trying to get more into Grady Hendrix's writing. This is about Louise. She has to fly home to a town that she has tried to put in her past. Her mom had an obsession with dolls. Her dad had this whole academic career. And more than anything, her brother, who's more of a deadbeat than anything, who fails at everything that he does and cannot get a job, is also back there in her hometown. But the thing is, she can't avoid him. She has to deal with him because she's trying to sell her deceased parents' home. And from the sounds of it, there was more than meets the eye when it comes to this home. I would love, because it does mention dolls, if there's some sort of Annabelle or haunted doll trope in there. And we're gonna see whether or not they're gonna be able to sell this house. This is A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire Legrand. This is a story about Lady Gemma, and she's honestly been blessed. Her family was blessed by the gods with beauty, brains, power, influence, and she's lived a good life. The only dumb thing that has happened is that her sister was taken away due to some abuse in powers and treacherous magic. Her mother ended up abandoning the family, and her brother and her other sister are in some sort of deadly blood feud with the mysterious Basque family. Worst of all, she's the only one in her family that does not possess any power. And then she meets the gorgeous Talon. His family's the exact opposite of hers. While her family has been blessed by the gods, his is the opposite. His family was seduced by a demon and they destroyed themselves. Interested in him, Talon decides that she'll strike a deal and help him through society while he helps her. So it's a give and take. I'm interested to see if Talon is a part of that family that she's trying to destroy. We'll see. This is Violet, Maid of Thrones by Gina Chen. Violet is a prophet who is a part of the court. She has no problem telling her prophecies, but she does often twist or tweak them in a way that makes things more interesting in court. Violet is asked by the king to give a false prophecy. In doing that, Violet unlocks a deadly curse that has cursed the court. The outcome of the curse is up to the future prince. The thing is, Violet also has an interest in the prince, so she has to fight with destiny and that attraction that she feels for the prince. So it'll be an entangled web that Violet has to go through, and we'll see, does Violet end up with the prince, or will he choose something else? This is The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin, and this is about Celie. Celie is the very first woman huntsman. She is determined to get a new foothold in society as the very first huntswoman. In the process, her fiance and her sister are trying to shield her from any sort of dangers, but what she realizes really quickly is that she can't be shielded, and this new scary evil that has entrapped the city may be coming for her. What she notices, there are puncture wounds on the neck, and she slowly has to uncover everything while also not falling for the dangerous evil. I love a vampire read, so this is right up my alley. It is interesting because she already has a fiance, so we don't like cheaters, but I am still very interested to see how she is going to battle against the dark vampire evil. Here is Mortal Remains, and this is by Mary Ann Fraser. This is gonna touch my little heart just because, I don't know, I forget those series that I read when I was younger. Let me tell you the description first, and then I'll tell you what series this is kind of giving me vibes of. This is about Lily. She is a mortician, and she runs the family business, and her father is pushing her more and more to be more involved with the business, and her friends are drifting away. So naturally, she begins to hang out more and more with the dead. In her time spent with the dead, it gets a bit complicated because she connects with Adam, who is a boy thought to be dead. In spending time with Adam, she starts to fall in love with this man, might I say dead man. And we're gonna see if love is enough to battle between life and death and the hardships that her and Adam go through. So what I wanted to talk about, I forget the name of the series, but basically it was a zombie series where the girl is in high school and she falls in love with a dead guy. And I believe there's one aspect of a cheerleader. This is so indescript, like I'm not really giving any concrete information of what it reminds me of, but there's a series, I think I was in middle school or high school or early high school, where I was reading, and it was about zombies, and one of the girls falls in love with the zombie, and I believe there's other people that come back to life too, and I think one of them was a cheerleader who turns into a zombie and goes back and forth, and about her loving them and going through the complications of loving someone who is dead. And it was a very interesting series. I don't remember the name of it, but if you remember, drop the name down below. But yeah, I think that's what this is going to be like, more of a grown-up version of it, because she's just a mortician. It sounds very interesting just because I feel like it's going to be just a little bit nostalgic for me. This is going to be the second to last book in the haul, and that is Gothicana by Ravyne. I believe that's how you say it. I've seen this book everywhere. Everyone has talked about this book, and I just felt like I had to get into it, especially since it's a dark romance, and I'm just now starting to get into dark romance books. I'm not really sure exactly what it even is about, but when I saw this was $5, I knew I had to grab it. What I know is that this is about our main character, Ravyne, who is going to an academy that ends up being on the top of a castle. And in that castle, she meets a part-time professor, Vad, who knows all about the ins and outs of what happens here at the academy. From my understanding, I feel like it might be about vampires, just because on top of a castle, it gives me Dracula, Nosferatu vibes. It has purple pages, hello, and it has like cool artwork on the inside. So that was enough. That was enough for me to be convinced, especially at the $5 price point. I had to grab it. And the last book, but not least in my haul, is The Ravenous Fate. And this is by Haley Dennings. This is set in 1926. This is about Elise, and the Harlem Reapers want her dead. The Reapers were created centuries ago by cruel medical experiments, and they are basically once human vampires. And surprise, surprise, Elise is the heir to the company that her dad started that created the Reapers. One of her friends named Layla was turned into a Reaper, and Layla, due to that, feels very betrayed. But due to a lot of attacks that's been happening in the city, Layla and Elise have to team up to try to save what's left of the town. This one is a bit different and out of my comfort zone just because it's in 1926. Reapers, which is kind of vampire adjacent, but just a little bit different. And it's two women. I don't know if it's going to be more of like a sapphic romance. I'm not sure. I thought that sounded interesting and I wanted to challenge myself. This next portion, I'm going to have to rapid fire just because my battery is about to die. So in this portion, I'm going to do my TBR as well as my current read. So for my current read, I have is One Dark Window. Right now, I am on the Two Twisted Crowns, and that is by Rachel Gillig. Really quickly, I know this series is one, or duology is one that people hold very near and dear. I'm going to do a small rant just because I don't have the time to go into a big rant. But my rant is, I hate, and this may not be popular, but I hate when authors do one point of view for the first book, and then in the second book, we have multiple point of views. Honestly, I understand why she had to do it, just because it would not make sense in this duology if there weren't multiple point of views. There would be no second book, but I just hate that because I get so attached to the main character that I don't care about the multiple different personality people in the next book, and it kind of turns me off. For me, I just have to have it in a way where if you're gonna do multiple point of views, start the freaking first book with multiple point of views. That way, I'm already used to it because I'm already used to one way. And then if you introduce the multiple in the second one, it turns me off. Like for this book, I read this in less than one day. I read it in 8 hours. For this one, it's been already, I think, a week and a half, and I'm not even halfway through it. So that's just a thing for me. This is my current read at the moment, and I do like it. I know some people put it at the very top of their list at 2024. I wouldn't put it at the top there, but it is an interesting read if you are wanting something different, something unique, especially if you like Gothic literature. It's really, really good. So I would recommend it, but I wouldn't put it at the top of my list when it comes to my current reads. Like I said, I'm gonna rapid fire my TBR. Funny enough, all my TBR happen to be sequels. They're actually all second books in a series. So I'm gonna just rapid fire go through that really quickly. Poppy War and Dragon Republic. For the Spin the Dawn series by Elizabeth Lim, I need to read Unravel the Desk. For the Girls of Paper and Fire series by Natasha Nagan, I need to read Girls of Storm and Shadow. We have the Adrian X Isolde, The King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. I need to read the second book, which is queen of myth and monsters. Lastly, I mentioned her name earlier. This is The Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I need to read the second book, which is Children of Fallen Gods. So that is all my TBR. Like I said, funny enough, my whole TBR does happen to be second books in a series. I don't know, that may say something about me. That is my book haul slash TBR slash current read list that I'm doing. I am sorry I had to rapid fire there at the end, but my battery is dying and I wanted to get this in before it died, just because I knew if I put it off, I would not feel like doing it. Honestly, doing this did put me in a little bit of a better mood just with everything going on, so I can be happy about that. But yeah, that is all of my books. Comment down below, what book are you currently reading? I'm always looking to add more books to my TBR. Honestly, after this big haul, I may not need to even add any more to my TBR, but I am always looking for suggestions. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Again, this is Lady Ravyne. Bye.